So let's talk about light. And I have already told you never to talk to a photographer about light, but I promise I'll try and keep it brief and not waffle too much. Now, the thing with light is I've already told you also that you can't take a picture without light. It's integral to a photograph. But the other thing with light is it has the power to completely transform and change the feel of a photograph. So understanding how it does that and how to use it is integral to starting to take better photographs. And the second thing I really want to say is there is no such thing as bad light. Light is light. Well, there's a quote for you. You can take that one. Light is light. Revolutionary. But what it is we can use it any kind of light. We just have to know the right approach and what to photograph with the light we're giving in. So I guess what I'm trying to say is from time to time you'll meet people that will, even people that have spent money on going on an amazing holiday, and they'll just leave the camera behind. They'll say, well, the light's just rubbish today, so I'm not going to take a photograph. And I find that a little bit frustrating myself, because there's always a photograph to be found. You just have to find the right approach and the right subject according to the environment and the light that you find yourself in. And to me, the challenge of going out with a camera in any environment and any light conditions, and let's face it, in the UK especially, the light conditions can change minute to minute, hour to hour. So it's a great thing to immerse yourself somewhere and just change your approach and what you photograph based on the light conditions that you get given. And I find that creatively quite exciting, and I enjoy the challenge of that, and that's one of the things that I love about photography. So what I've done for you is I've identified these 4 different types of light, if you like, and the first one we'll talk about is that kind of classical light, that strong directional light when the sun's starting to sit lower in the sky, the golden hour some people call it, and the kind of light that landscape photographers absolutely love. So we have that low light that cuts across the landscape in front of us, and it picks up all the highlights and shadows and creates the textures of the environment around us. And it really helps with that idea of what we were talking about in terms of relaying a 3D environment and compressing it into a 2D representation, because with that light it really helps that 3D feel. It's cutting across the land, picking up the textures, and it's also underlighting the clouds, so it's picking up the textures in the clouds as well. So when that low sitting sun hits across that landscape, it can be a really powerful and dramatic way of creating a photograph. Now, the other light that a lot of photographers tend to turn their nose up at is this soft light, this grey flat light that people talk about. And I've included a bluebell shot here for a good reason. And I love the delicacy of this photograph, and I love all the different tones and colours that it picks up on. And this is a shot and a feel that you could never get in that strong directional light, in the light we were talking about before, because if we had that light on there, it would turn into a very contrasty photograph. It would be stark shadows and strong highlights, and you would lose all the delicacy and the fragility of those different colours and tones in that. And it's not just a good light for scenes like this, it's also a very good light for portraiture as well. So in portraitures, if we use that same light in a portrait, you're going to pick up on all the textures and the lines on the face. Now that's a great kind of technique if you're photographing a fisherman maybe, or someone with a character face that tells a story. But if you're photographing a friend or a relative in that kind of light, I'm not sure they're going to thank you for it. They're going to much prefer you to photograph them in this softer setting, softer light setting. So when I'm photographing portraits professionally, quite often I will turn people's backs to the sun, or I'll get a strong diffuser between them and the sun. So it just softens that light and softens the textures on the face and gives that delicate tonal range that can create really beautiful portraits and flower shots and other shots as well. So it's a light that I sort of champion a little bit, just because people turn their nose up at it a bit, but that's maybe reflecting more about my personality, I don't know. So the third light that I want to talk about is this backlight, which can be really good and really dramatic. So backlight tends to throw your subject into silhouette because it's that strong light coming from behind, and it also tends to create this kind of halo effect. In a studio we'd call this rim lighting, where you get this strong outline around the silhouette that helps add to that drama and the look of the image. And then the final one is this spotlight, so where a beam of light, a shaft of light comes down and lights your subject for you and helps separate it from the background. So we've got the light that's falling on the kingfisher here, and because there's no light falling on the surroundings there, it's all fallen into shadow, and it really helps that kingfisher jump out of the photo for you. So those are the 4 key different types of light that you're likely to experience when you're out and about. And one of the exercises that I like to do when I'm exploring light is actually just to sit and observe it and see how it affects the landscape around me and the people around me as well. If you're on a train going to work, or on a journey on a train or on a coach somewhere, watch and see how the change in light affects the landscape around you and the faces that are around you as well. See the different impact that those things have. So the more you start to realise the impact that light has on a scene, the more you're going to be able to use that light to get across the ideas that you want to get across in your photography.